Hello and welcome back to the Data Privacy Lawyer. Today we're going to be talking about Carrefour. So we're going to be looking at cookie policies on this channel. And for anybody that's new, my name is Funmi Owolabi. I am the principal attorney at the Data Privacy Law Firm. What I really want to take a look at is the cookie policy for an organization called Carrefour. So before I started this audit, I went on Google to find out how to pronounce this accurately, and it's pronounced Carrefour, and it's a famous supermarket in France. Let's take a look. So here's their cookie policy and here's the banner. We're going to go to the cookie settings like we always do, and we're going to reject all. So I mentioned this before. There are different third-party providers that will facilitate this cookie banner being placed on your site. You can take a look at, different third parties and decide which one might be good for your organization. I think one of the main things that businesses should look at is what the definition is of a strictly necessary cookie, because what happens is sometimes these definitions don't align with what is considered strictly necessary. So there's a lot that goes into play that a business needs to consider. You need to consider if you are going to use a third party to help you manage your cookie consent. If you are going to use a third party, take a look at what their definitions are and what types of cookies you as a business are going to be utilizing. Take a look at that and then really review definitions that are going to be placed on the site, because it's really important that you're transparent to the public. I think as long as you are clear on the geographies that you serve and you're clear on the cookies that you are going to be collecting, then as long as your cookie banner reflects that, then your business could be compliant depending on, lots of other different factors. So here we can see Carrefour actually provides cookie details. You can actually see them, which is really useful. Let's be honest, most consumers are not looking at a cookie list. This is just something that I'm pretty sure privacy counsels all around the globe always look at to make sure to help their clients be compliant. So just a disclaimer, this is not legal advice. This is just a review and my opinions on what's going on in the privacy sphere with different organizations. Okay, so we've already turned all of them off. According to the website, it looks like they collect strictly necessary cookies, targeting cookies, and Google Analytics too. And the reason I want to highlight the Google Analytics that I see here is because it's likely, I don't know because this is not my client. I can only opine on what I see, and I see that Google Analytics is being used here. So it may be that there's a relationship between this organization, Carrefour, and Google in order to facilitate obtaining certain analytics about how consumers are utilizing the site. So I'm going to confirm my choices. Let's get into the actual cookie policy. So we have an introduction here. The website uses cookies. So they've actually put a qualifier. The cookies here are only related to the website. I'm intrigued on whether or not Carrefour has a mobile application, because that in and of itself may also collect cookies, and maybe there's another way that they are obtaining information related to a cookie that way. But this is only for the website. This organization uses the cookies in order to allow internet users, which is, consumers, to benefit from the services offered by the website. I'm interested. Is it the user that's benefiting from the service, or is it the organization? That's interesting language. Such as the viewing thereof, optimization of its use, and customization. You can at any time deactivate free of charge the cookies which you've given your consent using the deactivation options proposed to you below. I just want to scroll to the bottom and see if there's a date that this was last updated. That's really important because how organizations use cookies changes frequently. Okay, so I just checked and there's no date. That's something that could be added and businesses should really consider. So they've provided a definition, which I think is good. I think most cookie policies could benefit from a definition because it tells your consumer that you recognize that this document is for them. If a business is ever going to go through any type of investigation by a regulatory body, a cookie policy is definitely one of the documents that the regulator is going to want to see, because they're going to want to understand what is it that you have been stating to your consumers you are doing with their data. And adding that definition really adds a level of, one, I understand the audience, and two, most people don't know what a cookie is. So my business wants to demonstrate that yes, it is a personal data identifier, and you should understand how it affects you and your usage of our site. Certain cookies are essential to the use of the website. These are cookies of a technical nature used by the website host for technical network management purposes. Other cookies are used for analysis of website visits. So ultimately, the objectives that are listed here should be reflected on the cookie banner that we just saw. And when I do another audit, what I'll do is I will compare the two. We don't have the opportunity to do that here because I've already accepted the cookies that were necessary for the site to function. But I am interested in this definition, and businesses should really make sure that the definition they've put on the actual cookie policy is reflected on the banner. I'll tell you what happens. Sometimes organizations will partner up with third-party vendors that facilitate their cookie consent, and the banners are changed periodically by the third parties based on the law. What happens is the business isn't aware that those changes have been made, and they don't make those same updates on the site. I hope that makes sense. The third party manages that banner that we just saw. They don't manage the cookie policy. That's something that the business manages. What happens is when that banner is updated, sometimes the cookie policy isn't updated too. So when you're thinking about either creating a cookie policy or updating yours, make sure that you're getting regular or frequent updates from your cookie consent management vendor so that you can also make sure that those updates are reflected on your cookie policy. Now, I'm not entirely sure, one, when the banner was updated, or two, when this cookie policy was, because no date has been placed here. But let's be honest, it's likely that the cookies that this organization are using on the site have changed in the last, 3, 4, 5 years. Now, they do have a list here by Carrefour about the cookies. Let's click it and see. They have a table. Okay, that's awesome. What we don't see here is the date. And that's really important because the cookies do change. This one says 2020, so I presume that this was last updated around that time. We can see 2019, 2020. Think about this. How many businesses stay the same for 5 years? How they do their business processes usually change. So that's why it's really important to make sure that there's a date on this if you're a business. And also make sure there's a date if you're going to be providing the cookies that are collected. All right. The last thing I want to talk about is you can change your choice at any time by clicking here. This is really important. I think this is a really good indicator that the business is in tune with its obligations under data protection law, because ultimately, prior to the collection of any cookies, the reason we're being presented with that banner is because we have the opportunity to consent to certain cookies being utilized, but you can change those at any time. And that's one of the rubrics for obtaining true consent. It has to be freely given. It can be withdrawn at any time. There's lots of different factors that make up true consent, and being able to freely withdraw at any time is really a must, and which is what Carrefour provides consumers here. So ultimately, there's a lot of updates that could be made. If your business is looking for the creation of a cookie policy, you can take a look at the description below. I would love to work with your organization. If you have any questions about how cookie policy should look, you can also take a look at the description. I hope you enjoyed this review, and I'll see you in another cookie policy audit.